Good morning, and thank you for waking up with Edie Darling. I truly count it a joy and a blessing to speak life into your life. You know, when I woke up this morning, I woke up with such a grateful heart, with a thankfulness of all the things that God has done, not only in my life, but in the lives of all of those around me who have begun to recognize the beauty of God and putting God first. And they're beginning to see how He is just showering them with His love and His peace. You know, as I began to think on those things, God then begins to show me something very sweet and beautiful. He began to share with me His creation and how in the beginning God created heaven and earth. And I could just see the beauty of the land and the joyfulness that He felt when He said, and that it's good. It's good what He's created. He created it for His people, for us. And then He began to show me the destruction that mankind has taken upon themselves around the world. And my heart began to sink. You know, from that moment, then He began to share with me how we can rectify some of these things that have gone on. Like, we can rectify the problem? Do tell. Well, He started to show me my experiences in life in relation to how we could rectify this thing. He began to show me parts of my childhood, and He began to show me parts of my adulthood. Well, in my parts of my childhood, He began to show me how when I was younger, and you know, how when you're, walking down the street, you're doing something, and the neighbor down the street see you doing something. What do? They take care of business. And then you get home, and a phone call then came in, then you get taking care of business again. Y'all know what I'm talking about. What He was saying is, it takes a village. So He showed me the analogy of the village. That here, as a child, your mom has, or your dad has raised you a certain way to a standard. And then when you go out into public, you hold up to that standard. When you step out of place, then that neighbor knows, wait a minute, your mama ain't raised you that way. Let me take care of business. Come over here. And then they call you mama. And she does the same thing. Well, in school, it was the same analogy. I'll never forget, I had this one teacher. She was a good teacher. She was my neighbor. She would pull me aside in class and then go home and tell my mom about it. But I thank God for her, because those experiences helped me. The village. And then God began to show me something else. He began to share with me how I felt when I was in law enforcement. He began to share with me the camaraderie of that brother-sisterhood. It didn't matter whether or not you were in green and white, whether or not you were wearing the uniform of blue, or whether or not you had the uniform of black, or whatever your color your uniform was, that we are all one, and you are my brother and you're my sister. And what affects you affects me. And then he said, like when you went on your calls, you didn't have to worry that you didn't have backup, because your brother or your sister was right there to back you up and to protect you in the event of any hurt, harm, or danger. It didn't matter whether or not you were black, white, green, or purple. You were all one. That camaraderie of law enforcement, you were one. It didn't matter your sexual orientation. It didn't matter what your religion was. All of that was set aside set aside, because now it's a brother sisterhood. That I got your back. We're one. And then God began to reveal to me that that's how the body of Christ is around the world. It doesn't matter whether or not your sexual orientation, it doesn't matter what your religion is, it doesn't matter what your race is. We are one body. We set aside our egos, and unfortunately that's what has happened. Egos have stepped in around the world, and that's where we get these wars and different discords. But God is saying there's going to come a time when we're going to have to come together as a group of people to rely on each other in love. Because you don't know when your season is going to happen. Right now, our brothers and sisters around the world, some of them are experiencing the aftermath of tornadoes. It's not just the natural disasters, but there are emotional disasters that are happening around the world. But what affects one should affect the other individual. When someone is lacking something, we should be able to fulfill that lack or come together in a like mind of figuring it out. How can we get this problem solved together as a people? We can do it. We can correct these things that have been happening around the world. We can correct some of the things that have been going on in the lives of the people in our inner circles, the people in our own communities, and taking that ideas around the world of peace and love. That's what we do as a camaraderie, as we're one body. I thank God for that analogy this morning. I thank God for his love. Thank God for his peace. And I pray peace in the hearts of all those who are suffering right now, that they may experience the love, and may we rally to help one another. Peace and blessings I send you, my friends. Peace and blessings.